once again, let's ask the panel, how do you feel about the higher education element? What of your employees, how many have a degree? How many have come up through the ranks of practical experience?
Okay, well, personally, this impacted me because I grew up in Brooklyn with a single parent, so education was very important for me, and I couldn't go very far to leave my mom in Brooklyn. So I went to two-year college, and I got a degree there. And as Patty was saying, it's also good to get an internship and do some work, hands-on experience. So when I came out of college at 2 years, I actually had at least a year experience of working. That's a plus on your resume. I went to Merrill Lynch, and IBM actually, and also continued my education for my 4-year degree. So I'm a living proof of working after you actually start working and going back to school. It does help because now it puts you in a whole different range of getting a higher position, which before you may not be qualified for. Even though you're technically sound, because that business knowledge that we talked about so much in this panel, it's really critical, and that's what a formal education provides for you, is that business structure so that you can continue to understand what the needs are before you even build something. What's your audience? That helps a lot to sell it. So from my experience, my personal one, please continue education, and your certification also very important.
Kind of following the both of them, I didn't have encouragement from my parents to go to college. My mother was a stay-at-home mom and thought that's what the route was for women back in our day. Date myself a little bit. But I moved here in 1986, and I was a banker, and I went to work in a bank, and I was doing the same job as people with an education, and I was getting paid literally half. And I was a branch manager, I was in charge of security, I was doing all that, but that block of I didn't have the education. So I already had 2 children working full time. I went back to school, and it took me 13 years to get my bachelor's and then my master's. And after that, the doors opened up. And today, looking back, if I hadn't gone through that process of getting my degrees, I wouldn't know what I couldn't have started a company and been successful at it because I needed all those extra things that I didn't think I needed. So it was really, really important. For us hiring, I look at a mix of people of the education, and I just think it's really, really important to have that experience and have that leverage to jump you into a career.
Thanks, Brad.
I think education it's key to what all of you need to do, and regardless if you go to a large 4-year university or an excellent school like ECPI, your instructor came from there. I think the proof is right there with ECPI. Myself personally, I actually don't have a degree. I grew up in a farming community. My grades were horrible. Was having too much fun in high school, probably like some of you. I wanted to go to college. My parents didn't have the money. My grades were horrible. Couldn't get scholarships. So I went in the Army. But it's one of the things that both my father and my mother being educated pointed me towards was take advantage of every school that you possibly can. So I was an infantry soldier. You can't get further away from IT than being in the infantry. But I did take the opportunity to go to every possible school that I possibly could, and eventually went into recruiting for some of the sales background, and then migrated back to what I actually went to tech school and high school for was IT work, computer programming. So that enabled me to do things. But funny enough, I was actually looking back through my resume, and even when I worked for larger companies, and even now, I spent a tremendous amount of time and money educating myself and our team. So while I personally don't have a degree, I do have 2.5 pages full of just classes that I've taken over the past 15 years. So I think that's very key. Even though if you get your degree, continue on with your education, because technology changes every day. And they've said it before, you need experience. If someone brings me the resume and I can say, hey, that's great, you got your master's in information technology, where have you applied this in real life? And I don't care if they do that for their local Boy Scout group or their church or going to work for an unpaid internship. I want to see some of that real world experience. I think that's very key that you need to take away from this, is find someone, and if you have to do it for free, you have to do it for free. But that's going to be a key differentiator when I look at folks with their education. I'm also looking for the experience there as well.
So, Tom, all right. wrap us up on this.
Wow, I have so many things after all that, but I will tell you one thing about internships and the value of internships, and I'll give you a little trick. Internships mean a lot to us when we're looking at people. We do a lot of internships. We do paid and unpaid internships in our organization. But a little tip on your resume is if you do an internship at a respected organization, an organization that at least is established and has a name, and they accept you back for a second internship, that says a lot to us when we're looking at resumes, period. And that if you worked with them and you were valuable enough that they wanted to keep somebody else out of that slot and bring you back and let you have it a second time, that's golden. So just keep that in mind. A lot of people tell you, move around as many places and get as much experience in your internship periods. Yeah, there's probably some truth to that, but I'm telling you what we look at. I too do not have a college degree. Everybody kind of usually has reasons why they don't have them. Mine's a little more simple. I was sick of school. And I got out, I left home at 16, joined the Navy because I didn't want to go to school anymore, and they put me into the nuclear power program, sent me to Florida, where I spent 2 years in school, one of the most arduous schools in the United States, and that was a bad mistake on my part. However, I will tell you very quickly this. When you, in an organization like ours, we hire experience first, period. Experience first. And the reason is, in the economy notwithstanding, I need people to come in and be billable and be useful as quickly as possible. And if you have no experience, that means the lead time for me to get you billable is going to be longer, obviously. However, we do bring in junior people, and here's where there's a little bit of a disparate approach to the degree requirement. If you have experience, and a lot of people don't like it when I say this, but if you have experience and you're qualified to do the job, degree requirements are irrelevant to us. I mean, we really don't care what degree you have. We really don't, if you have the experience. However, there's a challenge, because the challenge and the catch-22 here is if you're coming in to try to get one of our junior positions, we won't hire you without a degree. So it's the whole chicken and the egg. How do I get experience if I don't have a degree, and so forth. So I will tell you, the internships are valuable. Getting the degree, if you want to get hired by a company like ours that would start to train you, if you want to go the route without a degree, then you're going to have to fight and scratch to get that experience on your resume. And it's got to be real experience too. I mean, we have people come in and say, yeah, I built a website for my my brother's 4-H club. Well, that doesn't do anything for me, but you understand what I'm saying.
I think, Dan, one point you did ask was the percentages of folks within our organizations that have degrees and don't. So within our organization, 90% actually do have degrees. Funny enough, there's myself. I kind of throw that off. But owning the company, I guess I can get away with it. But with that, and then a large portion of those actually have graduate degrees. But what they did is they had their bachelor's degree. They went back, as Peter did. He was working while he was also obtaining his degree, and Patty as well. Both of you folks did that to go back to get your master's degrees.
Okay. And I'll answer that too from our organization. So, of our business analysts, the people that we talked about that kind of articulate and determine the solutions, they all have degrees, and most of them have graduate degrees. Mm-hmm. Our quality assurance engineers, most of them have degrees. However, of all of our developers across our organization, I would say only about 30% of the developers have degrees.
So it all depends. Depends on what you're going after.
Some of the lower paid, though, on your pay scale as well, right?
What's that?
The developers, I think is what you said earlier.
Yeah.
The range.
Yeah.
So you can succeed without a degree, but the odds are in your favor to do better with one. I think that's the takeaway. Okay, let's move on and talk about security.